So guys, now we are going to understand about form handling, and we will start with a simple example. So now we will try to create a simple component called student component, where we can enter student name and student age, and then we can see the values printed in the component. So again, we'll start with the same process. First, we need a student component, right? And we should be able to enter name and age. That means we need two input values. All right. And the next thing is we should be able to display the name and age, which means we will need two state variables. We'll make it simple to start with, and then we'll move on to something more complicated like to do application. So again, the drill is the same. Start by first creating a file called student.js. Next, we will create a function called student. And now we need to use state variables. We will import use state from React. And then we will return some value, return maybe div. And inside this, we will write here in S3 student app and close the S3. Now is the thing. So I have my student component, which should look something like that. So my student component is going to have a form. In this form, I should be able to have two values. First, the name of the student, then the age of the student as input values, and a submit button. So these are the three things that we need in our component, which is the student name, student age, and a submit button. So this is how my app component will look like. And in the top, we will also display the student name. So here, whatever the name and age you enter will be shown in the top. So let us say if the name is John Smith. So after I press the submit button, it should print here John Smith. So this is how my component will look like. So as you can see, we have two input values. So we will create two state variables from use state, and then we'll do a couple of more things. So let us see how we can do that. So starting, first we need two state variables. One is for name and another is for age. So let's quickly start. Now, instead of let, it's a good practice to use const. We can write name, set name, equal to use state, and initial value is, let us say, default name. Same, we can write const age, set age, equal to use state, and let the initial value be 0. So we have created two state variables, and now we will also need to, add a form. So I will teach you form handling in two different ways. Most of the tutorials in React only teach you in one way, where we use controlled components. I will teach you also with uncontrolled components or with simple form. So we'll create a form, close the form tag this time, then write input type equal to text, name equal to, let's say, name only, and next is going to be input type equal to number, because you want to enter the age, and name equal to age. So we have two values. We will add a line break so that we are able to see the values, and I'll just remove the diagram now. All right. Next, we'll add a button, and here we'll write, show student. Show student. Close the button. So my form is ready. Now we will need to understand a couple of other things also, which is that if we want to handle a form, we'll have to handle it slightly differently, which is that we will now use a new event called onSubmit. Everything being the same, but on the submit, which we usually use in HTML, will become onSubmit with S capital in React. And we'll write equal to and a handler function, which is going to handle this. So let us say show student is the name of the function, which will handle the form submission, which means when the form is submitted, by clicking on this button, it will fire the onSubmit event, which will call the show student function, and it will do whatever necessary logic we want to do. So let me create a function now. Function show student. And in this, what I will do, I need to first get the values entered by the user. And that is where we will have to do a couple of things, which is, first thing, whenever we click on the button and the form is submitted, we receive an event object. If you have not studied about event, you can study about JavaScript events, where whenever an event happens, like in this case, submit event, then the event object is transferred to the function and it is available to me. So I can just write console.log event to show you the event object. And this event object contains a lot of things. And one of the things in this event object is the source of the event, which means where the event happened. And the event happened on the form tag. So I will get the form tag if I write console.log of event.target. This will return me where the event happened, which means the form object, which means I will receive the form object using event.target. So what I can do is I can just modify a little bit. I can write here const form ob equal to event.target. Why am I doing this? Because now I will get the form object from the event.target, which tells me where the event happens. The event happens on the form. So we get the entire form object where the event happens, which is form ob. Let's try to do a console.log of form ob and verify if it is working fine. Let's save it and try to see the output. So, oh yes, we need to do a couple of other things also. First, export default student. And the next thing, we will go to app.js and we will now import our student function from the student file and just display here student. Now, one thing I did not tell you, which is that we can use this format, which is like a regular tag format. And if we want, we can also use the shortcut format like this, because we do not need a closing and an opening tag in this case. So we can just self-close that our custom tag or component like this, and it will still work. Save it, and let us see if we are able to get the output. Let me save my file also. Yes. And we are able to see the form, as you can see here. Now, next thing, we also need to verify whether my form is working. So I will write some student name, maybe John Smith, and the age, let us say 22. And if I click on show student, okay, something wrong happens, that you can see this form reloads. And if you see, the URL has changed. Well, why is this happening? Because the default behavior of any form is to submit the form and reload the page, which is what it is doing. If you look at it again, so I'm entering some value, the page reloads, right? Which means for some reason, my application is getting reloaded. And the reason is very simple, because the form is getting submitted. So before I even print you all these values, I'm going to use event object and write event dot prevent default. What it will do, let me write down for you. Event, okay, yeah, this line will prevent the default behavior. And what is the default behavior of submitting the form? Yes, we can do that. Event.prevent default means whatever the default behavior that is happening for that particular event will be stopped, and it will, as of now, prevent the form from getting submitted. Let's save this line and go back to the output and see if it is working or not. So again, let me try to enter the value, which is John Smith, and then I'm going to yes, and I'm going to enter the age 22 again. And one more thing I'll do, I'll just reload the application so that the URL becomes clean. Start with John Smith, enter the age as 22, and let me try to now click on the show student button. And if I click on it, you will see the form is not getting submitted, and I'm getting two values printed. What are these two values? Well, if you look at the code in this line number 6 to 11, you will understand that this line is the event object. All right, and this line is the form object, which is visible to me here. So the entire form object, the entire form DOM object is available to me using event.target. And this is my event object. It has a lot of other information like when the event happened, where it happened, and so on. You can read more about event object on the internet, but as of now, we understand that we are able to prevent the default behavior, and we are also able to get the form object, which is very important. Because once I have the form object, I will have access to all the input tags inside the form, from which I will be able to get the value. So let me show you how I'm going to get it working. So going back, once I have the form object, I will try to get the input object. How will I get the input object? Constant name input object equal to form object. So if we have a form object in our JavaScript and HTML, we can get any input element object using the .name property. For example, in this example, if I want to get this input object, I will use form ob.name, which is what? Which is the name property. So for age, if I write name input, not name, sorry, age input ob, then it's going to be form ob.age because the name is age. And that way I'm able to get the two objects, input for name and input for age. And once I get these two values, I can also get the actual value, name equal to name input ob dot value, because dot value will get me the value of this input that is entered by the user. Same thing, I can get the age also using age input dot value. So I get the name and the age entered by the user. The next thing is what? How can I set the value? Because right now the name is default name and the age is default age. So the next thing I will do is I will write set name and give the name value. To modify my state variable name, and set age to modify my state variable age. And this will change my state variable name and age when I click on the submit button. All right. So let me write down here. Getting input objects from form object. Right here, getting the value entered by user. Using dot value property. Simple. All right. Save it. So what is the next thing now? Well, the next thing is now let us try to print the values. So here I will write here in h3 tag name equal to, in curly brace name, close the h3 tag, age equal to, in curly brace age, close the h3 tag. And now I will be able to display the name and age value. Now let's go back and try to see if our application is working fine. So now in the beginning, the name is default name, which is right because right now it's the default value here. Age is also 0, but let me now try to enter the age, John Smith, with the value as 22. And the moment I click on show student, you will see that the name changes to John Smith and the age changes to 22. I can change this to Paul and maybe 24. And if I click on show student, the value changes to Paul and the age becomes 24. So this is one of the ways in which we can do form handling in React. All right. So I would like you guys to also write this piece of code and give it a try and see if you are able to get the same output. And then after that, we will move to the next discussion where we will handle form in a different way. This time using state variables. So the same example, what we are doing here, we will also do using state variables. All right, guys, write this piece of code, and then we will move to the next discussion.